Okay, so we've got a tpms light on the dash. Let's go see why.
There's different approaches we can take when diagnosing the system. Before we break out the computer or the scan tool, most basic check we can do is checking our tire pressures. So referring to the sticker in the door jamb, go around all the tires, including the spare, and see that they're at the correct pressure. And if not, make them correct. So we've confirmed all the tire pressures are set correctly. Our next step is going to be to plug in a scan tool and try to read trouble codes. So to do that, I'm going to plug in the Bluetooth adapter to the OBD2 port and finally turn the ignition on, and we will see what the scanner says. Okay, so we're connected to the a scanner with the laptop, and now we have full control of the scan tool via the laptop. So we're going to go to the MaxiSys. And diagnostics. So we will select Toyota. We'll go standalone. Okay. So now it is asking us for a little more information on the vehicle. We can manually input it or we can automatically. So if we choose automatic, it's going to want the VIN number. So if I hit read, this does take a couple moments to set up. So we know that we are now working on a Toyota 4Runner. Looks good, yes. So we are going to go to diagnosis. We can do an auto scan, which is going to scan every single computer in the vehicle. So engine, transmission, airbag, body control module. That ends up taking quite a while. So if we select control unit, we can then decide which one we want to scan. So in this case, we will go to tire pressure monitor. This ECU monitors the tire air pressure. Good to know. So we have communications. We have a few options here. Trouble codes. So let's select trouble codes and see what we see. So what have we got for codes? Well, basically, we have 5 different codes. From the top, data from transmitter ID 1 not received. And then we go through IDs 1 through 5. Basically, it's not getting any communication from any of the 5 wheel speed sensors. So why is there 5? Well, in this case, the spare should also be transmitting data.
So using our tpms scan tool, we will get to this home screen. Kind of hard to see on camera what I'm picking up, but our options are quick mode, advanced mode, toolkit, with a few other menu options. Easiest way is just selecting quick mode. We then need to enter the information of the vehicle we're working on. So we've got a Toyota 4Runner. Ours is a 2005, so we'll scroll down and choose that one. So we now have options, which again are kind of hard to see on the screen, but our options are scan all sensors, scan single sensor, program, relearn, and sensor information. So I'm going to choose the scan all sensors. It then brings us to this screen, which is going to prompt us to trigger the left front wheel speed sensor. So now we'll head over to the car and give that a try. Starting at our left front. Got it. Right front. Next, it's going to ask for a right rear. Yep. Left rear. And finally, it's going to ask us to do our spare tire. Come on, meow.
Okay, so next we're going to look at programming our sensors. So the sensors we're going to use today are just a blank, they're a generic sensor, and there's a couple ways that we can go about programming them. We can program them using our vehicle specifications, year, make, model, or we can try to clone or replicate one of the sensors that is currently in the vehicle. So next up are both ways on programming a sensor. So let's just talk about the difference between cloning versus entering our vehicle specs. Maybe we broke a sensor when we were replacing a tire. We don't want to reprogram the whole system. We can just duplicate or clone that sensor and put it back into operation. Or maybe we have two sets of wheels. We have summer wheels and we have winter wheels. We don't want to have to reprogram when we swap our tires over twice a year. So we could just clone the sensors and have both wheels the same. When we clone a sensor, we need to find out what the original sensor's ID number was. And how we do this is using our scan tool and going under live data. And once we are under live data, we can see what our sensor ID numbers are. The one we want to replace, we can just write down that number, and our next step will be programming the sensor with that ID.
Okay, so from our home screen, we can just go in through quick mode. Now, we want to program a sensor. And we have a few options here. So 1, copy by activation. 2, copy by manual input. And 3, auto create 1 to 16 sensors. So we're going to do the manual input. So we're cloning the sensor. We've pulled the identification number from the computer in the vehicle using the scan tool. So now we can just enter it in. So, do you want to save and continue? Yes, we do. So I'm going to hold the sensor just close to the scanner. It's detected the scanner. There we go. Programming a success. So now it is showing us the data. It's not in a tire with pressure, so we have no pressure, 0 kPa. It's saying 27 degrees Celsius, voltage is okay, and showing us our frequency of 315 megahertz. Okay, so now we're going to choose the auto create feature. So let's see what happens when we hold 3 of them by the tool here. 3 sensors detected. Good. Continue. 3 sensors programming. Okay, we now have 3 different identification numbers. That's a good thing. Our next step will be to install these in the wheels and program the vehicle. All right, so it's time to put the sensor into the wheel. We need to break the bead off the rim, and then we can put this sucker in there. All right. Okay, so we've broken the bead. Tire is up on the stand or on the table of the tire machine. I'm not taking the tire all the way off, well, because I'm lazy. We can use our 3rd set of hands here and press the bead down. This now gives us pretty good access. So we're going to start by removing the old valve stem. Easiest way to do this is a pair of side cutters and just chopping the bottom of the stem off and popping it out. Now, installing the new sensor. So One cool thing with these sensors is they actually come apart. Just pushing a little button and we can actually remove the stem from the sensor. Makes it a little bit easier installing. We don't run the risk of breaking the sensor either. So putting in the valve stem or the sensor is the same as any other valve stem, which we've gone through. We will use our valve stem installer tool. So we will get the stem started through the hole, thread it on, and then just pop it into place. Just pop it into place. There we go. Okay, now we can just push our sensor onto the valve stem, and we should be good to go to reinflate and reinstall on the vehicle. Okay, so we're going to go for a relearn. This time we're going to go into advanced mode from our home screen. Still the same vehicle, yes, yes. So, position relearn. Yes. OBD relearn, yes. Clear the previous data, yeah, sure. So, we're going to have to scan all the sensors. Let's head to the left front. And finally, it wants the spare tire, which I have pulled out. Okay, we now have it. Now it's saying, please connect OBD and turn on the ignition. So let's do that. Okay, so in the vehicle, connected to the OBD2 port, and ignition's on, so let's press Y and see what happens. So, communicating. Please wait. 30 seconds? What? Now just to look at the dash, looks like a pinball machine here. Everything's lit up. Things have gone crazy here. Okay, countdown. 3, 2, 1, boom. Writing sensor IDs to the ECU. So now it's just showing us that it was successful. All our tires, well, they're not all identical, ranging from 242 up to 247 kPa, so they're all at about 35 pounds. The next part of the relearn is to go drive the vehicle for approximately 10 minutes above 19 miles an hour, or 30 kilometers an hour. And if we were successful, the light will be off on the dash.
So there you have it. There are slight differences on the relearn procedure depending on what vehicle we're working on. It differs between manufacturers, but overall the programming of the sensors, cloning, etc. is all the same.